another episode of Voices of Inclusive Research podcast. I am your host, Dr. Wren, founder of Diverse Research Now. And today we will hear the voice of Mrs. Mary Futrell, who is a community member with something to say about clinical research. Let's get right into this important conversation. Hi, Ms. Futrell. Thank you
Good morning.
for being here today. Good morning. Okay, first, Ms. Futrell is a very dear person to my heart, and we know each other from Chicago. We work together, and she is a powerhouse in the community. So she's not just a community member. She actually has participated in research herself, and she has worked in the field for many, many years. And so we are so happy to have her on today to give her insight and perspectives and personal thoughts about participation in clinical research. So that's our first question to you, Mary. Can you tell us your personal thoughts and feelings about participating in clinical research?
I personally feel that in order to get to the steps that we want to do an improvement in research, we have to go to the community. I feel that most people take everything for granted. And when you take for granted, you lose progress. So in my career, what I pride myself in doing is going to the areas that people do not participate. The areas where the education level may not be great, financial may not be great. I go to areas where people really need the service. One of my selling points to people is if a cure comes and you have not participated, they won't know about your race and it may not work perfectly.
Yep.
That helps them a whole lot to
Yep.
realize that they might be stepping back if they don't step up.
Yep.
And that's very important that you make them feel their participation will make a difference, not only for them, but for their children.
That's right. And is that why you decided to participate in research? Because you have participated in research before, have you?
Yes, many different studies, many different plans. One of the reasons, for instance, for Rush Alzheimer's Disease Center, I got in this study because I wanted to express to people what my real knowledge was, not what I learned from reading about the product, but being in the research.
An example, yep.
Right. I think it's very important that when you give people facts about research, that you have some personal caring in it.
I agree. What was your experience in it? Can you share your experience? So what do you...
One of the things, for instance, I was in a research study about why Black women feel they have to do more than other people. It was a 6-week study. We met once a week. And what we talked about was being a mother, a worker, a wife, a mate, a community person. And one of the things that I learned in the research, that people felt that they had been let down and they didn't want to let other people down, which is a good point. But I also found from that research that people go overboard and don't know boundaries with the research and give expressions and comments that they don't necessarily know, but they feel. And it's a difference when you're in research of what you know and what you feel. I feel in research, you should get to another level. You should not stay at the same level. And with that particular research project, I felt people were giving the answer that they thought was needed. And that really felt.
Wow. In that case, what can we do to help communities, if they're going to participate, to be honest and to be transparent and to be open? Because that's what we need, right? Because how do we get to the real answers if you're not going to be real?
If you don't have the real truth.
Right.
Well, one of the things that I do when I decide to participate in anything, I would write the things that I think it's going to do for me. And I write down the things that I expect from it.
Okay.
Then after the study, I write what I received from it.
Okay.
And I think that people, before they join the study, they should think, why I'm going to be in this,
Yep.
what's going to come from this, and
Yep.
how will it help not only me, but the community and people in large.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so your participation in that, how did it affect kind of your day-to-day life? Did it affect you? What were you?
Well, that particular study, it affected me. It made me realize how responsible people felt for the indiscretions that was did to them as younger people.
Mm,
I felt a lot of people were trying to be perfect from what somebody else did not do for them.
wow.
That really helped me. That
Okay.
gave me more room to be relaxed with myself because even as an adult, we think we know we're not responsible for other people, but it's in your head and in your heart, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to let go. And you
Mm-hmm.
don't realize that you're carrying that on. Another study, for instance, what we worked in, Alzheimer's disease study,
Mm-hmm.
two things I found that really discouraged me. Too many people thought it was okay for their people to have Alzheimer's disease,
Yeah.
and they don't
Mm.
realize. And I always say to them, Alzheimer's, what? And they say disease. I said, what did disease mean to you? And that way they were able to realize that the disease is a progressive thing and you have to stop the progression.
Yeah.
And that was my clue to work with people. And one of the things I always said to them, even if the research don't help you, you got children and grandchildren that you should want to bring them to another level.
Yeah. I love that you brought that out because I agree with you. I think from my experience working in the community, a lot of people thought it was normal to have this memory loss as they get older. And so for you to point out to them that no, this is, disease. This is not normal. This is
Yeah.
not a healthy brain or aging.
And the thing what really bothered me, especially in the community of color, African American, locking people up that was having memory problem was their answer. I remember so many times I talked to people. I said, well, when you notice your mother having this or your father having this, what did you do? They didn't search out
Yeah.
mental health. They made sure they were ate. They made sure that
Yeah.
they were clean, but they kept
Mm.
them in a room.
Wow.
Only made it worse,
They didn't tend to, and that does make it worse because sociability is a risk factor. Like, them
Then
not being social.
also bothered me the shame level that they had because they family member, and really a lot of them, they didn't realize it was Alzheimer. They just thought they were losing their mind, and they
Wow.
didn't want people to know their family member was having memory and problems
Yeah.
like that. So from that, I learned that we have to teach family.
I agree.
And one of the things that we do workshops
Mm-hmm.
once a year. So your parent is 65.
Wow.
And they don't necessarily have Alzheimer's, but we try to tell them maybe 10 issues that a person of 65 or older may accomplish. And that way they're pre-prepared. It's not an emergency that you have to work with. You see it from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
One lady told me this story that her father, she went to her father's house and he had notes everywhere in the house, on the refrigerator, on the stove, in the bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
cut off the water, turn off the stove. And I told her, you should be proud of him because he realized something wasn't right.
Wow. Yeah.
I say, so therefore, he won't help. He wasn't trying to accept what was happening to him. He wanted to stay at a level he was functional.
Yeah.
And I think more and more family members need to recognize the signs of all diseases and get in studies, get them to do research, read up on things, and talk about it. And that's a problem with research. A lot of people don't talk about issues that necessarily affects them and their family.
It's probably because of these misconceptions.
Right.
So, what are these misconceptions that you've heard? What do they say? And the
Well,
reasons why they don't participate?
They don't want to admit it. It's a little shame. Nobody wants to admit that their
Shame.
family member is not thinking about,
Wow.
you know. And another thing is they're afraid that people will take advantage of those people.
Mm,
That's why they
that's
take
a
them out.
big one.
Right. They really feel that they have to be more protective, but not in protective in a way that will help others in the future.
Yeah.
Protective on that situation right then.
Yeah.
I always say to people, once you become aware of things, talk about it, do research about it,
Yeah.
find who's doing work in it, and to find out what difference that they have that you don't have. And that's the problem about researchers and communities. People don't reach out to find out what's different now than
Yeah.
what, and I always say to them, changes is continuously.
Yes.
What you knew 2 years ago, it may be 10 steps higher another way.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people, read, find out the organizations that's making a difference in what you're worrying about. I had a lady with diabetes, and she first lost a toe, a foot, a leg.
Mm.
And her family, to me, wasn't support. They were supportive, but they wasn't educated. If
Mm.
they had been more educated, they would have changed her diet. They
Yeah.
would have saw that she got to
Wow.
exercise.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, read about it, study about it,
Yep.
see what pharmacy company is in the head in the game.
Yep.
Talk about it. And that's
Yes.
the problem. People don't talk and hold conversation.
And that's exactly why we started this podcast, so we can talk to people like you in the community, that so we can see what's really going on. Like, why are we like this? And then even to just make the researchers aware of, what the community is really dealing with. Are there things that the researchers can do? How the researchers can communicate with the community to make things a little better, more open, and where they're not so hesitant?
I feel that a lot of times when you go out to community and talk about your studies or your project, you show disappointment if they
Mhm.
don't reciprocate your interest.
Come on.
So when I go out and do events, the ones that really interested and want to know, I let them go to who other person I'm working with.
Okay.
I try to recognize the people who are hesitant.
Okay.
So when I do events, I watch the audience, I watch them. I will give them, for instance, if I'm in a senior building and we're talking about Alzheimer's and I see people are hesitant, I will give them a business card and say, if you got any questions, call me.
Yeah.
Because I know they don't want their people in their building or their family to think they're worried about that.
Yeah.
And you get so many calls. So really watch your audience
Yep.
when you're doing a presentation. Watch and see who people you might see a look of awareness, but not participating.
I love that.
I also believe you find that go-getter in the crowd, in the building, and you
Yeah.
and you kind of whine and dine them.
Yeah.
Hey, I know you know this person, and you get them to buy into you, and they will call and tell you if you're worried about something, if you think something, call me. You must reach out what they need. Although you need certain things from them, they
No.
may need something totally different
That's
from.
right. That's right. It has to be recognized. I say often that it's a give and take relationship. This is why I started diverse research now, to serve the community, to give them something back. We can't just go in and ask them to participate in things. We have to serve them and give them something.
And know your communities. When you go to
Mhm.
a church or a senior building or a park district, know that community.
Yeah.
And not that finance makes a lot of difference, but you know if people in that community only have a $20,000 finance in that community, then you know they're going to have more worried about food. So you make your presentation talk about what foods they can eat to help the project. If you go to a community and everybody's lawyers and doctors, then you say to them, what can you do for your neighbor? What can you do
Yep.
somebody else?
Yep.
Because they feel they have everything. Know who you're talking to. If you go to a church, mention the minister or one of the group leaders at the church so they know that you're not just there on a one-time basis,
Right.
that you have been in the area and appreciate that area. If you know that an issue is happening in a particular community, speak on that. I
Yeah.
know that it's worrying you that the high school is that. That's why your blood pressure is up. That's why this study may help you.
Wow.
Speak on things that affect them beside your study, that you
Yes.
recognize that this thing is happening to them for many reasons.
Yep. And that's what we say. That's why we're in the community. That's where we love to be because we
That's right.
understand that we have to know the community and show that we care for them because we do care for them. You have to show that. And I like what you said about you're not in the community just one time because that's a huge one for us is to be
Yeah.
in the community on a consistent basis.
One of the things, if I do an event and one of the people say, oh, yeah, my daughter's graduating from college. And in June, I would call it, how was your graduation?
Yeah.
If somebody say, my daughter's getting married, a couple months, I write a note, I put it in a computer, I call them, how was your wedding? They feel,
Building relationship.
and that makes a lot of difference.
Wow.
And then later you may call them and say, hey, we got a study and I thought you would be perfect to help us get people to be in the study. And then they like that you want to reach out to them for their knowledge and their caring and their knowledge of their community.
Yep.
And a lot of times you'd be surprised how many people want to do more, but just don't know what they need to do.
That's right. And, oh my goodness, Mary, you're I'm excited because what you're saying is exactly what diverse research now does. This is what
Yeah.
we're doing, building these relationships. When we have these safe space meetings, we get to learn about that person. They tell us things, we make note of it, and yes, follow up with them, like keep them engaged with us. And then when we have our buddies to go out to the visits with them, again, that's a buddy. So that buddy is again
Watch
continuing to engage with them, continuing to get to know them, building that relationship. And that's exactly what you're talking about is building that relationship and not just talking all the ways about the research because
Yeah.
there's so many other things that's going on in their life.
Yeah. And the thing too, if you do a event, follow up 3 or 4 months later because people are more knowledgeable from your
Yep.
first event
Yep.
and they're more receptive to what you might need to do. But I always tell people of color, you want the medicines, you want the product to help you.
Yep.
You don't be in the research, they don't know. I
That's right.
said the average one nationality may have an average blood pressure here. In your neighborhood, the blood pressures might be here. So they'll need a different outlook when they're making the medication. And I told them, I said, medication is from notes that people took from people who had problems. And that's what they don't want to accept. They think the medicine know about everybody, and it doesn't. Research is why we out here.
Yeah.
And really love it when you find one person that really booms and get it. And when they get it, you feel so rewarded.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. But I think it's super important to stay in touch with those people too. And I say that too to a lot of researchers. And I tell them, like, just because someone said no this time doesn't mean they're going to say no next time. We don't know what's going to happen later on in their life. That's why for our organization, we keep them engaged and we keep checking on them. We send them stuff. We invite them to our events. And you just never know what's going on in people's lives and when they might reach out.
When you're in a community, you have to participate in the community.
Yep.
And one thing too, I always give them real facts. I will always say, if they say we need 100 people in the study and 75 is one nationality and 25 is only Black, the facts are going to be on that 75 people because they got more information. Your information is very important to be in there.
That's right.
And so once they realize that they can make a difference, people have to participate more.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, from your experience, Mary, you've been in the field for a long time. Have you seen a change in the community? So I know researchers are working on bringing more awareness to the community, and they're because we have these FDA guidelines that says we need more diversity in your studies. Like this is a requirement now, right? So they're coming,
Yeah,
they're coming to our communities more.
right.
I think that, and a lot of people always say, oh, people of color, they don't want to participate because they don't trust us and different things like that. But honestly, our experience has been that a lot of them do. A lot of them do want to participate. They do want their voices heard. They do want to be included. From what you've seen from years back when you were working early in your career to now, have you seen a difference in how
There,
people respond?
there is an improvement.
Okay.
One reason it's an improvement is because people of color are getting to be more educated.
Yep.
But I want to say I have to give Google a lot of credit.
Okay. Okay.
More people tell me, yeah, I
I
Googled it,
Googled that.
and like I tell them, now when you Google, that is just a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Reach out to the people who are actually doing the study,
Right.
the pharmacy company that got the medicine.
Yeah.
I found also that the newer generations of seniors ask more questions.
Good.
But
Oh, that's great.
before, people didn't feel they had the right to question intelligent
Right.
people.
Right.
Now they feel that they have to ask.
Okay, good.
When you're out and you're doing presentations and you're in a community, try to recognize the people that need more information. Try to encourage the ones that's very active and encourage them. Because just like you touch them, they could touch somebody.
Yep.
So use
Yep.
your resources, not only that you bring, but that's in the community. I think that one of the things that I found that I really like, more younger people are being involved with older people. I have a group of grandchildren interacting with grandparents.
I love that.
And what it is that we have, for instance, it started with a community that the garbage was picked up once a week. And I organized all the children to go to older people's house and take their garbage can to the curb. Well, it was no problem. We got the people and they went and got the garbage can and put it on the curb for them. And then they brought it back after the garbage people collected and put it back to their garage or their alley. Then these same young people would go and ask them, do you need me to walk your dog? Do you need me to go to the store? Or see the mailman?
Good.
So they got involved.
Yeah.
And I would tell the kids all the time, your community will only be as good as much as you put in your community. So young people get involved, make them understand. All research can go to different levels.
Yes.
And one of the things about research that most people don't realize, if you don't give your voice, they're only going to hear everybody else's voice.
That's right.
Then nobody knows what you're thinking and what you need.
Yeah.
And therefore, that's going to push you back another 5-10 years.
And before we get out of here, because I don't want to keep you too long, but I like what you said. And you're talking about the community putting in what they want to get out of it. But honestly, that's the same for the researchers and in the companies that want to come to our community and they want to enroll them into their studies. Well,
they got to be involved.
You got to give something. You got to put in what you want to get back. And I think that our pharma and sites is still wrapping their heads around how much they need to put in and what can they get for this little bit. You know what I mean? I've been telling them it's going to take a lot. There's been generations of historical injustices. Yeah. And so, you know what? This is a long game. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. However, we have to keep working at it, and you're going to have to invest in these communities.
If you want something, you got to give something. And giving is caring. And when people see you care, that makes them be a little more wanting to participate. When I go out, I will ask them, what do you think are the main medical problems y'all having in this community?
Mhm.
When they start talking about it, some of them will find out that all of them are really worried about the same thing.
Yeah.
Some people not even aware that they have the problem until the research.
Somebody's talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So realize that you're giving something that's needed, but you need something also.
Yep.
So be respectful,
Be respectful.
be kind,
Mhm.
and be assertive.
Mhm.
And when I say be assertive, when a person tell you that they don't want to be in the study, then say to them, all right, think about what we talked about. When can I call you again?
Mhm.
Can I come back and talk to y'all and see have y'all learned anything from today? Because when they first hear about the research, they got to think about it. And because you're moving so quickly,
Right.
they might change their opinion.
And that's why, yeah, and that's why we have the safe space, because we'll talk to them initially. And like you said, you're moving so quick. This is an event. We got to get through it, right? But yes, that's why we created that safe space program, to really sit down with people and give them a chance to really allow things to process.
And think about it, give your card and tell them. And compliments now. And
okay, this is a good one, Mary.
yeah, the compliment, you might see somebody sitting there and you'll tell them, I know the people in this building respect you. I know that your church members like how you present things. Please call me so we can work together.
Yeah.
Try to pick the people that you know got some clout, compliment them,
Our
make them
leaders.
want to buy into you.
Our leaders in the community, or leaders in their small group that they're in, because there's always going to be a leader.
Somebody that's got clout,
Yeah.
You make them feel good, then they're going to say positive things about you. I always say at the end of conference, you have my cards. If there's something that you're not very sure of, call and ask, because we're moving fast and we might overlook something that you need. And that gives them the privilege of feeling that they're not bothering you and that they have a chance to learn more. Because learning more is what we want to do.
Exactly. It's all about education. Yeah.
Right. That first approach is only one. You want to do more and more.
Yeah.
And I love when people get in studies and communities get in studies, you go back and give them a compliment. We got so much from this community. We learn so much from what you eat. We learn so much from what you sleep, how you exercise, what you done. We have input in different things.
That's right.
They know what they gave you helped others.
Yeah, return back to the community.
Points in research, especially with older people of color, you got to make them realize, even if this doesn't help you, we're talking about your children and grandkids. They buy into that so well. You don't want them to have the same problem you having because you didn't help us study.
But it's the truth.
And when they hear that, they feel more obligated.
Yeah, it's the truth. You're just speaking truth and helping them to realize, what it's all about.
Recently, a lady told me that cancer was inherited in their family. And she had 3 aunts who had breast cancer. She said 2 of her cousins had breast cancer, but they caught it right away because they knew what their aunts had went through.
Wow, okay.
And that's because research has made it better. So the rate, maybe both of those cousins may live.
Right.
Research has brought it. Wow. But they knew because it was in their family and they had heard of it before. And so many people have not heard about so many different studies.
Yeah. Word of mouth is huge especially in the communities of color, or at least the Black community I know. And that's another thing that I'm hoping that we can start some type of program where, if you have a good experience in a study, share with the people that's around you and let them know what experience you had. Because I
always ask when we do a study, and I always ask them, and what is other issue is concerning you beside what we talked about today? That makes them realize you caring about them and you're going to look into. One lady told me, she said, I need a furnace. I haven't had a furnace in my house in 6 months.
Mm,
Had nothing to do with medical, but I knew an organization that helps seniors get a furnace.
yay.
I gave her,
Resources.
I got,
Yes.
she got her furnace. Now she's able to tell other people, you don't know what you will learn
Wow.
at an outreach
That's,
event.
I
So
love
little
that.
bitty things make a difference, you
Yep.
know.
Yep. And
Little bitty things.
yep. That's one of my goals for the organization, Diverse Research Now, is to have a list of resources for the community. Because when they come to our events, I want to give them as much as I can.
That's
You
right.
know, not just educate them about, you know, because we do a lot of health education. Like you said multiple times, education is huge. So education is huge for us. So we're educating and we're giving them something, but we understand that there's other things going on. So we partner often with other organizations that's doing other things in the community. And
Partnership.
so we have
Yeah.
to know, it's almost like this, you know, a holistic type of effort to really care for the community wholly.
I'm doing a workshop with the Chicago Department on Aging
Mhm.
on September the 24th next week. In this workshop, we're going to have funeral directors to cremation society too, and a lawyer, 2 lawyers. The lawyers will not file their paperwork, but when they sit down and talk to them, they will tell them what they need with the problem they talked about, what they need. And they give them a name that they could call a lawyer of their own to know what they need to have help with. This cremation society will give them the pros and cons of cremation, the cost versus a funeral. And the funeral directors will talk about, you know, the services and the thing. And this event will have young people, senior citizens, both, because these people need to be able to have knowledge. The department will let them know we have a payment plan that you can pay every month before you die for cremation, just like you do insurance.
Mhm.
The funeral homes will tell you different degrees of a funeral, so you be knowledgeable ahead of time. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, I don't want to go talk about death. But one thing we know, if you're born, you will die. You
That's
don't know
right.
when, you don't know where, you don't know how, but be knowledgeable. Our communities need to be knowledgeable. Reese and I, we planned this event. I'm so sick of GoPay where they want you to go fund me. I mean, every week I got 2 or 3 of them. And I'm
That where someone has passed away and needs to put together a GoFundMe for
right.
their loved one. Mhm.
And if you pre-prepare
Yeah.
and you know your options,
Yeah.
all of that will happen. I had a lady call and tell me that her husband owned 2 properties and her name was not on either property. So she had to go through probate court.
Yeah.
It was so expensive. This event, they'll be able to talk about that. How do you prepare in death, all financially,
Good.
mentally, and to save your family stress?
Yeah.
And the little things like that. And we will have people who can talk about what they need and research. And I would really love to have somebody do research to see how many people in the community don't have insurance for funerals. Because I figure probably in a month's time, I done gave $125 to the GoFundMe page. And that's getting a little tiresome to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Mary.
And
That's a
so,
huge issue.
yeah,
Definitely something to be addressed.
so I think some research should be done in that, you know.
Mhm.
But do the things that you think the community needs. Ask, and when I asked about people, that's what they said. They said, we don't know about cremation. I don't understand. You know, older people don't. Younger people kind of understand.
Mhm.
That's why we're doing this
Mhm.
right of life information. And from there, that we will go to the next subject. The next subject might be, how can I mentor another child or do something extra? You know, a lot of people, family members have went away somewhere else. Go to the boys clubs, go to the Y, read to kids, go to a daycare,
Mhm.
read a book to the kids and help the people at the daycare. There's so many things our community can do to make us whole. Because once we get the crack, that crack will get bigger and bigger if we don't finish it. And research is about fixing cracks.
Come
Make
on. I
at a
like that.
yeah.
Research, Mary, that's where we're going to end today. I like that statement. Research is about fixing cracks.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. And
So
please,
true.
if anybody hear this and feel free, Renata can give you my information. I'll be glad to talk to people. If you ever come to Chicago and we do an event, I would love for you to be able to come and see some of the things we do. But we work real hard in communities, and know your community.
Yep. Know your community.
Before you go, know the community.
Anything else you want to like the public to know before we get out of here? Anything else? But you've said so much good stuff today. But anything like any announcements or anything that you have coming up?
We're doing a senior prom. We're doing a prom for senior citizens 55 and over. They dress up, they dance, they have food, we give prizes. And I tell you an example of we have did proms many, many times before. There was a couple, there was a man there. He had went to the Vietnam War. He had took this lady to the prom and lost contact with them. They hadn't seen each other in over 40 years. A year later, they were married. You know,
that's so cute.
You know, social events for people are
Yeah.
and we do, for instance, Father's Day, we gave a grandfather-granddaughter dance where the grandfathers and the granddaughters came and they danced. And the grandfathers did the twist and the new people did line dance.
Yeah.
And they enjoyed each other. Try to make sure that the community enjoy each other.
Yes, and that's what I was gonna say. We talked a little bit yesterday about this, Mary, about making things fun, these events fun. I know that's one of the things that we try to do when we have events is to make them fun for the community. If we want them to get involved, they have to enjoy themselves.
And they have to see that they are important in that event. Now, you know, the grandfathers and granddaughters dance. One girl, she was 14 years old. She said, at first, I didn't want to come go dance with my grandfather. She said, but next year, let me know.
Oh.
So now they got something that they can relate to.
Yeah, that's creating memories.
Yeah. And
that's so beautiful.
Yeah, little bitty things makes a difference.
Yeah.
And when you're doing your research, make sure you do something fun, just like they're giving you something. Give them something.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Thank you so much, Mary. We're gonna end there.
It's my pleasure.
You have been a wonderful guest. I'm so appreciative because you have so much wisdom in this space, and I'm so happy to be connected to you. So
and I know what you're doing is going to make a difference in our society, in our world. Information is knowledge. And that's all we can give is a little knowledge.
It's power for sure. It gives us power. So thank you.
A pleasure being here today.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.